Hello, it's Sarah from Homescan Breeder Services. Just putting together another Facebook Live video. I'm going to keep this one short, not as long as last time. But what I thought I wanted to do is just track the girls. So on my last video, you saw me run a cytology test. So I thought, well, let's track. I've got two females that I'm mating. So I thought, well, let's track them all the way through, and you can sort of join the journey with me. So hi, thank you for joining. I see I've got a few people attending. Can you like and love hearts and that kind of thing? And also, can you share this video? Because I know there's many breeders out there that could probably do with, well, just worth listening to a little bit of advice and a little bit of information that I might have, that one nugget might be of interest to you. Okay, I've gone a little bit old school here. I've got a whiteboard. Hopefully you can see bits of, well, it's a homemade whiteboard. Hello, thank you for joining me, Angie, Natasha, Cheryl, Monet. So I'm going to scribble some bits down. Hopefully you can see it okay, but as you say, I'm sort of going rough and ready with these. I've got my laptop balanced on quite a few boxes. But I'm going to set my timer because I said I'm going to keep it short and I've already done a minute. So, hey Google, set timer for 14 minutes. Right, we're not going to overrun. Okay, so what I wanted to talk to you about in this time that we've got together is about ovulation testing and finding when to mate a female when you have multiple dogs. So for instance, I have 7 dogs, of which 5 are female, and of which 4 of them run together consistently all of the time. I've had everyone seems to be coming into season at the moment. I assume it's because generally the trigger is the change in weather and they sense it a bit before we do. And so girls are coming to season. It's getting mild for April. It's kind of milder. And all the girls are coming to season. I've been running bloods non-stop, matings and all that kind of thing. So we're definitely, say spring is in the air, so to speak, and seasons are happening. So as I said, I had 4 girls running together. In my last video, you saw me do a cytology swab example on one of those females. I wasn't quite sure what day she was, and I'd run a test. Well, I'd done a cytology the day before, just to see whether she was in season. And when I pulled out the end of the swab, it was bloody. So I knew that that was generally day 1. I hadn't seen any blood on the floor before that point. Okay, so just in regards to bitches cycles, and hopefully you can see this okay, but the way that the way that the cycles and heats run is that for the majority of the time they are in anestrus. Okay, so they're sitting dormant. This can be roughly 7 to 9 months. Okay, everything's sitting dormant, a bit like the tortoises are just come out of hibernation. Ovaries are sitting there doing nothing, all chilled and relaxed. When you see that first day of blood, they move into proestrus. Okay, so that's when they're in season. Okay, this can last, hopefully you can read that. My writing is terrible as well, so you probably can't read it regardless anyway. But generally they're in season. Day 1 is first day of blood. If they're having a typical season, we'll come on to silent seasons and all that kind of thing, probably on a different session. But if they're being an average bitch, you see some blood on the floor, that's day 1, they're in proestrus. Now, the whole point of ovulation testing is that we want to identify estrus. Different colour pens, see? We want to identify estrus because this is their fertile period. Generally, this lasts, I've got it written down, 5 to 9 days. Okay, so they generally have a fertile window of that. Some girls are short. I think you have a super fertile window of 3 days. Some breeds say slightly longer. There are some girls that are pretty rare but might be a little bit shorter, and they're the ones that are more difficult to catch, which is probably why you're testing in the first place. And then they can go into diestrus, okay, if they're not pregnant. That lasts for 2 months, so you still might have a bit of blood, a bit of spotting, a bit of discharge every now and then they go back dormant, so they're just going to go into anestrus again. Okay, and that's just a cycle that just goes round and round and round. feel free to ask any questions as we go. If I haven't been clear on something, then just let me know, and I'll try and respond as we go through this session. Okay, so the whole point of ovulation testing is we need to know when they're in the estrus section of their cycle, because that is when they are most fertile, and that's when we need to breed them. Okay, so as I said, I have multiple dogs. I kind of knew one of mine was day 1. I did the cytology and I did some bloods just to be sure, because I can. And she was 0.25 nanograms. Okay, so there's 2 scales, remember, with progesterone testing: nanomoles and nanograms. Everything I'm going to talk about is in nanograms. Anyone that knows anything about IDEX, it's in nanomoles. Okay, I think it's just sort of like a European imperial and metric kind of difference, but it's like millimeters and centimeters. It all adds up to the same thing in the end, but just when you're talking to other people, make sure you're both talking the same language. Okay, so I ran some bloods on Tuesday. Advised a lady with a golden retriever to mate immediately, and then she phoned me up and said, no, the stud said my numbers are too low, I need to wait until tomorrow. And then we had the conversation. The stud was talking in nanomoles and I was talking in nanograms. So I said, no, if she was mine, definitely go today. Okay, so 0.25, super low, that's a retest in 4 days. Okay, and the way you've got to think about it with the progesterone testing is the perfect typical way of this process for your female is, you know, you want to make your female, you pre-order your kits online. Okay, most people, they give the kits out for free. You just need to contact them, give them your address, they will send you the kits. You put them on the shelf, you don't need to worry about them until you actually need them. So she comes into season, pro-estrus, day 1. Guess what? You get the kits out and you just have a look and see, read the instructions and check that you know what you're doing. You phone your vet up and you say, I need a blood draw on day 6 of season. Okay, so you work out what day 6 is. Think about whether it's the bank holiday, a weekend. For instance, if she was day 6 on Saturday, then I would be inclined to, depending on the breed, put it forward to the Friday, because if you're posting them, you're going to get the results the next day. If you do the bloods on the Saturday, you're not going to get the results from anybody unless you hand deliver them until the Tuesday, because if we rely on Royal Mail, that's how slow it's going to work. Even if the post office is open, which some people have some crazy post office open on Sundays as well, it's just going to sit at that post office. It's never going to leave that post office. So don't bother going in early and thinking they're going to get somewhere, because they're not. You either need to move your date that you're drawing the bloods, and as I say, some breeds you can afford to push back later and go past the weekend. Okay, but you phone up your vet, she's in pro-estrus, phone up your vet, book her in for day 6. Some breeds you can do day 9. I've covered that previously, but if you've got a working breed, you probably can afford to push back to day 9. Check whether it's a weekend, bank holiday, that kind of thing. Okay, again, ask any questions as we go. You go down to your vet, you take the pack that you've got with you, they're going to draw you off, they're going to ask for the vet nurse for starters. You don't need a consultation, you don't need the vet, your dog's not ill, so you just need to ask an appointment for your vet nurse just for a blood draw that you're going to send off yourself, so you with an independent lab, so you can liaise direct with them, or if you're getting the same day results, that you're getting the results same day. Off the vet nurse goes, she draws the blood, whether they do it in front of you or not or what. Just remember, if you've got a show dog, then you might want to remind them not to shave. Depends how easy or not the dog is to get blood out of. We don't want it to be a traumatic thing. It should be quite straightforward and quite easy, but it just depends on the dog. And on that note, actually, it's probably good that you take down a hydrated dog. So preferably that she's had a good drink. It's actually preferable that she hasn't eaten, but she has drank, because it can, not that it impacts the results, but the blood sample will be slightly altered if she's eaten, because obviously it's breaking down in the body and the blood is involved with that, the digestion of the food. So yeah, plenty of water, preferably hasn't eaten, so an early morning appointment or lunchtime, so what she has eaten is fully digested. In regards to breed specific, somebody's asked, what day would I recommend a blood draw on a Stafford Staffordshire Bull Terrier. I think you probably could afford to push back to day 9. However, if you have any inkling that she might be an early bird, then just go with day 6. And what I say to people is, when you sign up to, right, I'm going to commit to blood testing, commit to, I will be running at least 3 blood tests, okay? Because if she's an early one, you only need to run 1 test. If she's an average dog, you'll run 2. If she's a late one, you'll run 3. If she's over that, you probably never would have caught the bitch anyway, so spend as much as you need to. But I just say to some people, like, want to try and guess it, and they just want to go, right, the blood's now starting to dry up, and now she's trying to do this, and she's lifting and she's flagging, so I think I should test now. You're best off just doing your cytology. If you really don't want to spend the money, do your cytology and then do a blood. But people that just going to track bloods all the way through, because it is the most accurate, then be in your head, be prepared that you're spending money to run 3 tests. If it's less, then you save yourself some money. If it's more, you would never have caught the bitch anyway, or very unlikely to, so it's worth spending the money. Okay, so yeah, you've got your kits, you take them to the vet. The vet nurse does the blood draw, she gives everything back to you. It's in the correct bottles because you've given her the kit. I would personally check, because sometimes they don't. Just remind them the blood doesn't need spinning, and sometimes they want to sort of try and earn their money and they want to be over helpful, and they don't need to. Just literally draw the blood, put it in the bottle, give it to you. Then you either hand deliver it or you're going to pop it in the post. If it's going in the post, I recommend that at minimum it's sent recorded, tracked. Personally, special delivery means it's pretty much guaranteed next day. And with the special delivery, you can have a 9 o'clock or a 1 o'clock. My personal preference is don't waste your money on a 9 o'clock unless it's a Saturday. Because when I run the bloods, I have to wait. Well, I generally wait. It's better for me to wait for them all to turn up at the same time and to run them all together. So if one turns up at 9, it's still not going to get run until the 1 o'clock post has turned up. Okay. Other people might be different, but that's generally because of the numbers that I deal with. That's how I run it. If it's hand delivered and I'm in, then I run it straight away. That's not a problem. But if it comes through the post, it generally doesn't get run till 1 o'clock, and the results are at 2:30 by the time I've called everyone with their results. Okay, so you sent off your bloods, you sit there and wait. Generally, I say to people, just drop me a text just so I know. I'm a little bit awkward. I do have a different Saturday address, so in my little kits that I send out, I say to people, just text me just to make sure you're sending it to the right place, or Facebook me or whatever, and it works quite well, and it means I've got a heads up. Okay, now I'm conscious I'm running out of time, my 15 minutes. So you popped them in the post. You sent the I've got them, I've processed them, and this is my dog, okay, the results. So I ran the bloods. Day 1, she was 0.25 nanograms. Retest in 4 days. Okay, so I retested in 4 days, which made my guess of day 6 of season. Okay, and she was 2.8 nanograms. Okay, that would be a retest in 4 days. However, she is a bulldog. Normally when it gets to the 2nd to the 3rd, I sometimes reduce the retest, just because I know when they go up quick, and it's ovulation patterns. Okay, so what's kind of the average is a dog should sit quite low, slowly go up. Okay, and say 6 is the magic number here, because that means that they've ovulated, and say 12 is the magic number here, which is mate immediately. That's what we want the average dog to do. Bulldogs tend to go like that. Okay, Labradors, they're a bit slower and steadier, without messing up my graph, but they might sort of go a bit like that. And you'll have some girls that plateau. So if you can see all the way over there, you'll have some girls that sort of do this and then this. Okay, and you sort of run 2 tests here, worried that they're not going anywhere, but they are. It's just that they're just doing something slightly different. So I try and build up these kind of patterns for the breeds in my head. Okay, so she's 2.08. Should have been a retest in 4 days, but I actually retested her in 3 days. And guess what? She flew up to 16.12, which means 12 is mate immediately. I actually mated her the following day. I still reckon you have a 3-day window for most breeds. So I was happy to travel up the next day and mate her. Now, the second dog that I wanted to mate, again, because I've got 5 bitches running together, didn't know who was what, just, oh, 15 minutes is up. Right, hey Google, cancel. I'm going to carry on, but you can give me angry faces, okay, if that's not the right thing to do, okay? So second dog, didn't know what day she was. I saw some blood. I tested on that day, again, because I could. And kind of for this, really. And she was 0.72, okay? So super low. Hadn't missed her. My instinct was she was early, and she was early. So I retested in 3 days, okay, just because mainly because she's a bulldog. I don't believe some vets say test every 2 days. That's too much. So I did it 3 days because she's a bulldog, and because other bitches are already in and ovulated, sometimes it can speed up any other bitches that follow. So I didn't know whether that would be the case before. And this particular dog, when she had her first litter, I again had 2 litters at the same time. And though this dog came into season first, because she isn't top dog, she actually didn't ovulate until the top bitch has ovulated, which I thought was quite interesting. So I was playing it cautious with this one. So I retested her 4 days. At day 4 of her season, and she was 3.13, so pretty big jump, a bigger jump than what this is here. She's actually going up quicker, okay? Think of this pattern. She's probably doing more of this one, okay? Just a quick question. Okay, no, someone's book bloods with me. That's good. Right. So then I retested her, conscious of the knowledge that I had in my head, and that's why when you're breeding, you know your dog. So if you think they're doing something quirky, I would just always play it safe, because you've invested so much so far. Just spend the extra bit of money. And day 6, so which is early bird, so even my first one, day 9, mate immediately. That's earlier than your average. 11 to 13 days, most people say, is your average. So I probably would have missed her if I waited to day 11 or only just caught her. This one, day 6, she's 5.65, so pretty much near enough 6, which is ovulated. Okay, so I knew I had, when you get to 6, it's 48 hours for the eggs to mature, and then she's ready to mate. Technically, she should be sitting at 12 by then. So I didn't need to retest her again at 5.65. I was happy that if I mated her 48 hours and an afternoon afterwards, I'm sitting within the right window. Okay. Any questions on what I've covered so far? Does it all make perfect sense? Right, so I'm conscious I'm running over. So what I just wanted to cover was the 2 scales. So I've said, and I've scrawled over everywhere, you've got nanograms and nanomole, okay? So just check you're always talking in the right scale. 1 nanogram is 3.17 nanomoles, all right? So your nanomole scale is always higher, okay? So I've said your nanograms, 6 is ovulation, 12 is mate immediately. For your nanomoles, it would be 19 is ovulation and 38 is mate immediately. Okay, so you can see how people can get confused, because I say mate immediately and someone in the wrong scale says, no, hang on a second, they've only just gone past ovulation. Okay, so just make sure you're talking in nanograms or nanomoles. One's not better than the other, but just to avoid that confusion with the stud dog owner, there are graphs that you can find on Google and that kind of thing. Okay, so you sent off your bloods, you've been given the advice, the results of what you need to do. The advice is generally mate immediately, which you don't want. I always want to try and keep, especially if someone is traveling for their stud dog, then I generally say play it safe on your retest dates, because you rather have a score come back of 9 and then that means you're not mating for 24 hours, so at least you can sort everything out and you travel. I'd rather get people just to 6, not to 12, because it gives you shorter time to plan what you need to do. Okay, but your results are either going to be mate immediately, retest in 48 hours, retesting mate immediately, mate in 48 hours, mate in 24 hours, and then a retest, generally 4 days if they're low, 3 days if they're starting to creep and we just want to be a bit cautious. Okay, as I said, you've got to just keep retesting until the numbers tell you what to do. And some people say to me, oh, can you tell me you know, how many tests I'm going to have to run? If only I had that crystal ball, which I don't have. Until I will do my best to guide you. Once I know what the numbers are, I will guide you as much as I can. And I know some people, I go, no, you need to retest again. I'm not saying that for the money. I'm not thinking, oh, I need to get an extra test out of you at all, because I want you to be an efficient breeder as you can possible. But I just generally see it through my eyes, and if it was my dog, that's what I would do. The ball's in your court whether you would do that or not. Right, I've got a question. How often do you get bitches with small windows rather than the normal 3-day window? It's hard to tell, to be honest, because I track all the data that I have come through, and I'm trying to build pictures, and I do have some pictures already of some breeds. So for instance, bulldogs, they go up quick when they start going up. French bulldogs, I think, tend to ovulate slightly later than your average. Labradors generally ovulate, say, 14, 16 and later. So it's trying to build up that patterns. But the problem I have is not everyone tells me the results of whether it's successful or not. So I don't know, unless they drop me a text or a message or post on my page, the pups have been born in numbers, or I go out and then scan. I don't know. 60% of your bitches are typical. You get 20% early, you 20% late, and I would say you get 20% with a smaller window, 20% with the bigger window. The rest have got your 3-day window. So all I can answer that is with 20%, and it's just whether you've got one of those 20%. It's just really difficult. And I know particularly with you, Sue, you've done all your testing. She's done everything she needed to do. She's done all her testing, and the bitch missed, and she's a working breed, good, sturdy, healthy dog, no reason for it. I've only had it once before with a Labrador. They did all the testing they needed to do. The bitch missed. So they did all the testing again with a different stud dog. She missed, and they actually did one AI, one natural. And I said, you know, Labradors in the scheme of things, you know, are pretty average sound dogs. You get the 20% or the 40% that do the crazy stuff. But there wasn't anything flagging up for any reason that she shouldn't have caught. And I said to her, if I was you, take the pressure off, don't do any testing, mate when she looks like she wants to be mated, leave them out in the garden, assisted mating. Don't ever leave dogs out and let them to get on it. You need to be there to assist with a mating for the protection of the stud dog and the bitch. And I said, just what will be will be. And sure enough, she called me out to scan and she had 8 puppies. So blood testing is not 100%. You're always going to get some of those bitches it doesn't work for. But for the majority, and when you've got a lot of dogs and when you don't know where you stand, it just gives you so much information. And as I say, with this dog, I knew she had already done something a bit different on her first litter. So it meant I could keep an eye out of what was happening on her second litter. Okay. Question, if the bitch has infection, what would affect ovulation time? If a bitch has infection, I'm guessing you're assuming uterus related infection. I wouldn't see that to impact ovulation, to be honest. It would just cause a problem in regards to the environment and the pH suitability of the environment for the eggs to then embed into the uterus, and likewise for the sperm to be able to comfortably live within that environment to fertilize the eggs that they needed to. So I don't think it would impact ovulation. But I think it would impact the steps afterwards. One of mine was late first season, on day 16, second time, on day 16, second time day 6, Days early, this can be different every time. Yeah, without a doubt, ovulation varies. As I say, your average dog is 11 to 13. I do believe, or very rarely do I believe, that a dog will go from one spectrum to the other. So I don't often see a dog that's a day 20 ovulation on a next season go day 6. And vice versa. I don't see them swing those scales. They might go from early to mid, and they might go mid to late, and back late to mid, and mid to early, but never really jump all the way from one to the other. And if they did, there's probably something else behind it. Okay, right, I've gone way over. So any more questions? Otherwise, I'm going to cut it. Here, because I've got other ideas and other I just want to do bite-sized bits of information, because I think it's just easier to digest and it doesn't bore you lot too much. So I'm just going to want to keep these bits sort of short and simple. But if there isn't any questions, I'm going to clock off now. Okay, lots of likes, lots of shares. Please still share this even afterwards. And the last video had quite a lot of updates. Oh, and one last thing, just to keep you well, just to sort of promote to you really, is that I have redesigned my website, so www.homescanning.co.uk, but on there I have built a new tip sheet, and it's the 8 vital considerations you need to take when your female's been scanned in pup, or when she's expecting puppies. The 8 vital, it's really the 8 questions I get asked all the time. I put it together in a document, so you can sign up to that free document through my website. I probably will post a link here, just so it's easier for you to get to. But oh, I've got a flower as an icon. I didn't know there was a little flower icon. Thank you for that one. But yeah, so it's the 8 vital considerations when your dog is expecting puppies. I'm going to cut it now. Thank you for watching. I'm going to do another one probably in 3 weeks' time again. I'll update you with my girls. We'll do the scans and that kind of thing and see how successful we have been or not. I haven't got a problem sharing that with you because you're on my journey with me. All right then. Thanks a lot. Bye.